You can do it.
There's over okay, I'll answer that. There's over 150 life forms that live inside an oak tree. Well, you have insects, you have birds that are dependent on oak trees, right? So there's a lot of life. Does anyone else have a question for oaks or acorns? If you were going to eat an acorn, since we're part of everybody who eats acorns, how would you do it? Okay, I will tell you how you do this. You collect your acorns, and it doesn't matter if they're from a scrub oak or from a coast live oak or a canyon live oak. You would take your acorns and make sure that it's okay to collect these. You want to get permission from whoever property it is. And when you bring it home, you put it on a cookie tray. And you put it on your lowest heat and have it on your lowest heat for about a half hour. And once you do that, if there's any kind of weevils or anything that's inside it, it will kill it. It will stop the growth of any of these little critters inside the acorns. I'm looking at you with birds. That's what they don't want you to do. Because the birds, when they have the acorns, what do they do with it? They eat it. They want the little weevils that's inside it. But we really don't like to see the weevils, right? And so you're going to put it inside your lowest heat inside the oven. And then I put mine inside baskets in my living room at room temperature. Nothing's going to go wrong with it. You can store your acorns safely like that for about 2 years. Mine don't last that long. I'm generally done by about a year, a little over that. But so now you have these acorns. It's not going to mold on you. It's not going to get insects. You're going to take these acorns and you're going to shell it. And so what's the best way to shell an acorn? Pardon? Well, when my kids were still at home and they were young, we liked to shell acorns. And we tried it with the regular, hand nutcracker. We tried it with the other kind that it's kind of like a piston. That was taking a long time too. And then I thought, we're going to be efficient about this. So I took a bunch of acorns and put it inside water and thought that maybe the good ones would float or somehow it was going to separate. It doesn't do that. And then I took a bunch of them and put them inside a bag and put it on my driveway and ran over it a few times with my car and thought, this is going to do it. No, they don't separate. You cannot do it that way. And ultimately, the best way to be efficient with shelling acorns is this. It's this. And I mean, I feel like I'm, a cave woman, but some of my best kitchen tools are things like this. It's a flat rock, and you can put like maybe 5 or 6 acorns on it and do it with one smash, and you're getting your acorn meat out of it. So, okay, so you're shelling the acorns. Yes, Sandra.
Just a real quick comment. We also have valley oaks, not here in Placerita, but in the valley. And those are very interesting. They're larger and meatier, but they're scarcer. But you can shell them in a very interesting way. Put them in water for like half an hour, and they start to split open, and then you take out the meat and dry it.
Oh, I haven't done it like that. So once they're shelled and you have the acorn meat, then you put it inside a pot. You can do it the cold water way or the warm water way. It produces different types of acorn meal. So if you're doing it the cold water way, it's going to take time. It might take days to do. The hot water way is if you're going to be using them right away, and it's more for savory dishes. So since I use it more the cold water way, I'll put it inside a paint bag or some kind of cheesecloth bag. It goes once they're shelled, and it goes inside the water, and I keep changing the water. So I'll do it in the morning. I'll do it whenever I think about it and change the water out. And so how do you know when the acorns are done? It's you take an acorn and you taste it. And if it doesn't taste, when you taste tannic acid, it's sort of like, have you ever had a persimmon and it's not ripe and it's kind of like, or an aspirin? Have you ever had an aspirin and you bite into it and it's like, oh, I wish I didn't do that. That's a kind of taste that tannin is like. And so when you bite into it and there's absolutely no taste at all, then you know that it's completed. And so once you remove that water, and they used to use that brown liquid that's going to be coming off of the acorns to tan animal hides too. But since I don't do that, it unfortunately gets put into my plants. So that is how acorns work. So pardon?
You can clip that back on. You don't have to hold it. Wherever you had it before, you can clip
So it's working now?
it. Yeah.
Yay. Okay. Okay, so we have the acorns.
Excuse me.
Oh,
Since you told us the cold water way, what's the hot water way?
oh, the hot water way, I've done this for classes where once we take it, we'll pulverize it. And it will make like a meal, once it's shelled. And it also goes inside the water, but it'll be done in about an hour or two.
So you just boil it.
Right, and then also different acorns have different amounts of tannin. Like our coast live oak has a lot of tannin, so it takes a while. But you can go up, say, in the Libre Mountains and have black oaks or white oaks, and there's very little tannin. Some oaks have so little amount of tannin that you can almost eat them just like that. And again, the oak is the only, or the acorn is a true nut, and the chestnuts, from chestnuts are also a true nut, but everything else is other categories. Walnuts are drupes, peanuts are legumes, there's other categories of it, but the acorn and the chestnut are actually true nuts. So who's eaten an acorn? You have, we can pass this around. So what this is, and I should have, I don't know if people have food allergies. These are persimmon cookies. Somebody asked what acorns taste like. Acorns have no taste at all. I had a choice. I thought I could either do acorn wee wish, which is just 4 tablespoons of acorn flour and 1 cup of water, and you heat it up in your microwave, and then you pour it on a Pyrex pan, and it's like a gelatin, but it has no taste to it. This is cookies that I made that has no sugar in it. I used persimmon pulp because my daughter has persimmon trees and I can a bunch of it, and so I use that instead of sugar. And I did a mix of regular wheat flour and acorn flour, and then the regular stuff that goes inside chocolate chip cookies was baking soda and some shortening, cloves, cinnamon, nutmeg, and then some Trader Joe's chips. So if you have allergies to anything, I just read the ingredients. If you like them, I'll leave the recipe here. You can take a picture of it later. Yes?
If they have no taste, what is the benefit of eating them?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that. It is so nutritionally balanced, it's unreal. Of our plant food, it's very difficult to find fats, carbs, and proteins. You'll get carbs out of plants, but not too many of them have the proteins. And the fats too. In a winter, you need the fats. I mean, so many of us are like, well, I need to lose weight. I don't need the fats. But yeah, you do. You have to have that in your diet. And so when we live in a world where you have, a lot of processed foods, this, of course, is not processed. And it takes in all 3 of that. So, and it changes the texture too. Like you can, when I made these cookies, you'll see that they're extra soft. The acorn flour does that. When I do something savory, if I'm going to make like a meatloaf of some type, and I'll add that to, the acorn, it'll make it, it makes it more moist. So I don't know how it does that, but it just kind of alters the product. And so it's adding your vitamins too. So those 2 things.
Is there any danger of not removing the tannic acid? Does tannic acid have some toxic effects?
Well, if you have a lot, but I mean, nature has this marvelous way of if you buy it, you say, you're not going to be eating it because it doesn't taste very good. So, but we have natural tannins in our food anyhow. If you're not tasting it, then it's okay. If you don't have a sense of taste, like if, some people have had COVID and they lose their smell and taste, eventually it comes back, ask somebody, hey, does this taste right to you? Because I don't know how else you would know that. Yes?
later sustained our agriculture, like planting corn or something. The native indigenous people did not do that primarily because of the acorn.
Oh, because that was a food storage. Yeah. Okay.
Do the dead weevils have a taste?
Yes. Yes, well, it would be. Have you had any insects lately?
I have some right here. You want some?
What you hear about the description of insects is it's like a cheese, or it's like it's that kind of like termite larva, or there's different types of food, and they tell you what the consistency is.
Can you tell when one of your cookies has more weevils in it than others?
Well, I personally don't like weevils, and so that's why as soon as I get them home, in the oven it goes. And let me tell you about the food that, what actually is with your food. I used to can a lot, and we used to get peaches, and through the length of my house, I would have peaches in sacks, because we would be canning it, and it would be like for other families too. And we would get these beautiful, perfect-looking peaches. And by the third day, already I had to be careful about worms. And so, I would go through the blanching of it, it'd be inside the water for a brief moment, and then I'd make sure I'd cut through it, and I would find occasional worms. But in the beginning, they weren't there, and it's like, where the heck are they coming from? And so I don't know if that answers it, but a lot of our food, like what we talked about last week, has insects in it. The stuff that you eat in the restaurant, I mean, they're not going to list it as ingredients, but you've eaten it already, and you didn't.
But a lot of grubs and weevils have kind of a bitter aftertaste.
Oh, what have you eaten?
I have eaten acorn larvae. I've eaten these grubs from South Africa, which are a delicacy. They're the consistency of marshmallows.
Did they taste bitter?
They have a bitter taste, and they are considered a delicacy.
Wow.
Yeah, I've eaten worms. Worms don't have worms are fine.
Wow. Well, I know that, like around here, has anyone seen the harvest ants? Those are like the really big ones that, they're on our trails and all that. And people who lived here would pick the minor lettuce and have it around by the ant holes, because when they're walking around on it, I understand it makes it more lemony. And so, yeah, there's different flavors. And you think a lot of our native foods actually are bland, like the acorns. But you know what else we've got with our native foods? We have intense flavor of foods as well. And where you find that is on the roots, but also the seeds. And I answered that with, somebody was asking about the flavors and all that. So somebody had done a paper at UC Davis listing the seeds, and they were also pulverized. When you see these acorn grinding holes, it's not just for acorns. You see some of them. There's one out in Santa Susana Pass State Park that I've gone to after rain, and there was an archaeologist present, and he confirmed this. It looked like they were dyeing Easter eggs. There was, blue and green and red, and so it was showing that there's different. When things were pulverized, it wasn't just acorns. There were a lot of other things involved. Okay, let's see. Okay, so with studying plants.
Lower the lights. Yeah.
Oh. You want to know about pollination, right? And so this is a poppy, and you can see that it hasn't been pollinated. And here it has, right? And you think of it, yeah, and he's standing out in the hallway smoking a cigarette, and he's all, and so somebody told me that a long time ago, and I cannot get that thought out of my mind. So now when I look at flowers, I look for that, and you can see what's been pollinated and what isn't. But our plants are very smart. And so they know, it's like this one says, leave me alone, I want to die in peace, and, but anyhow, I wanted to show that, now this one we'll see. I took this picture up on East Canyon at the very top. We have a monkey flower all through Santa Clarita that looks like this, right? It's a yellow one. But in the San Fernando Valley, they have every shade of the rainbow, like what's in this picture. And a little at a time, we're getting that very colorful monkey flowers coming over the hill. And so we've seen occasional bushes like this. And if you want to get kids interested with botany, you have to be interested in it too. And there's some really fun things that you can do with this. So a monkey flower has been used for a lot of genetic experiments. When I was in school, it was the peas, and they would see how that works with genetics. You can see it even more with the monkey flowers. This part of the monkey flower, I handed out the names of a plant, a flower, and also the words to it. I'm going to let you guys do that on your own because we don't really need this right now, but I want some basics. So this part of the monkey flower, or any flower, is what? This would be, pardon? So, I'd rather do this. So you had petals. Yeah. And if you had a lily, the sepals look identical to the petals. They're the same color. They're the same texture and everything. But with a lily, you have 3 petals and 3 sepals, making it look like it's a 6-petaled flower, but that's not. But on the inner side of the monkey flower, you have the stigma, and you can take that stigma and get like a little stick that's really thin and flexible and tickle it. And when you tickle that, that's going to work like a Venus flytrap, and you'll get to see it close up on you. But you have to have really good eyes to see it. And so if you're taking kids out and you're going to see the monkey flowers on the canyon trail, and just tickle the inner part of it, it will close. If it's been pollinated, it's not going to do that, okay? So check the inner sides of the monkey flowers once they start blooming in a month, maybe. And if you want to fill these out, or we'll see how much time we have later for the parts of a flower, we can do that. Okay, what do we have next? I don't know. Oh. Wait a minute. Oh. Okay, I want.
No, you just passed out these 2.
Well, I'm still trying to figure this out. Oh, wait. We'll do this. We have another plant that's at Placerita, and it's the nightshade. And there are a lot of plants that are inside the nightshade family. Our tomatoes are nightshade. We have what's called Western black nightshade, right? And so there's little tiny blackberries on it, and people will say, oh, you can't eat that. Yeah, you can. It's perfectly fine. But other plants that are inside the nightshade are, let's say, datura, which is poisonous and deadly. In the grocery store, if you were to look down the grocery store and buy some nightshade, it would be eggplant, it would be bell pepper. We have a whole slew of nightshade plants. You know how you pollinate these plants, though? You need, not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet.
I'll stop.
Okay, stop it. Okay, not yet. Okay. With the note C, okay, it's buzz pollinated. And so we have our native bees that will, that's the note that they use, and it will send out the pollen. And this is how you're getting your pollination for all of your nightshades. If you want to have fun with kids, if anybody here is involved with music and happens to have a tuning fork, you can go out underneath a plant and put a piece of black paper underneath it and do that, and you will see the pollen get released on the black paper. So it's a fun little, demonstration for the kids that you're working with. So now I can do this.
Let me do it.
Okay. And it's the key of C, and electric toothbrushes do the same thing. Okay.
This buzzing is a secret password. The key lock.
It's
What
okay.
this bumblebee is after is pollen. Bumblebees eat pollen. It's high in protein. But the flower doesn't want to give it to just anyone, so it hides it away in those bright yellow anthers. For a flower, that's unusual. Most flowers keep their pollen on the outside of the anther, which is the male part of the flower. Pollen is basically sperm for plants. Most flowers make sugary nectar too. They use it as bait to attract bees and other pollinators, which get coated in pollen on the way. And since bees are messy, they inadvertently scatter some of that pollen onto the female part of the next flower they visit. That's how most flowers have sex. But this type of flower doesn't offer nectar. The only way to get to its pollen is through those tiny pores at the ends. But the bumblebee knows just what to do. It wraps its legs around the flower and bites down on the anthers, that male part of the flower. See those wings shaking? Normally, the bumblebee uses those powerful muscles to flap its wings. That's what makes the buzzing sound when they fly. But here, those muscles vibrate its whole body, so hard and fast that it makes a louder, higher-pitched buzz. This vibration shakes up the pollen trapped inside the anthers until it spews out all over the bumblebee. It's called buzz pollination, and you don't need a bumblebee to do it. A tuning fork will do. The bumblebee grooms the pollen down into sticky sacs on its legs, carries it back to the hive. Only a few types of pollinators, like bumblebees, are capable of buzz pollination. Honeybees can't do it. This field is kind of a free-for-all. Think Las Vegas buffet. Tons of food, but long lines. Lots of competition. Buzz pollination is more like a private club. By only permitting pollinators that know the secret knock, the flower ups the chances that its pollen will end up on flowers from the same club, the same species. The bumblebee? Well, sure, it has to work a little harder, and there's no sweet nectar. But it's a reliable pollen stash that almost no one else has access to. Tomatoes, potatoes, blueberries. All of these need buzz pollination to reproduce. Much of the food we eat owes its existence to that buzz. password here at Deep Look, I'll be honest, it's that subscribe button.
No.
Clicking subscribe releases a cloud of
Okay,
goodwill
so-
and gratitude from all of us. And you'll find out.
Okay, so
Yeah.
do I just hit it and then,
Hit it again, but you want to start up again, or
okay,
for the next movie?
okay, that's good. We, what was I gonna say? Oh, yeah, how cool is that? I've seen datura flowers, and it's like, so, where there were regular European bees, and it's like, well, how are they gonna get, what are they doing? And there was a native bee that was going around inside the flower and getting what it needed, and the non-native bees that cannot do the buzz pollinating were waiting their turn after the native bee. And so I was trying to find that, because I took a video of that too, and it's like, whoa. So, they kind of work together. We also have plants that are creepy, scary, alien-like. So I'll name one of them, and that is the witch's hair. Anyone else know the name for that? Dodder. Okay, so that's that beautiful orange stuff that you see that's draped on plants. You'll be seeing that probably, well, it's starting like up in Pico, but you'll see more of it. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's a native thing. And I've learned that you could take that dodder and dehydrate it, and it's used for eye floaters. It was Chinese medicine, and there's many types of dodder. The kind we have is used for the eye floaters, and the dosage of it was what fits inside your hand, and you crunch it up. Once it's dried and crunchy, again, it has no taste, and I did not bring that. I could bring it on Thursday. I have some of that if anybody wants to see. But that's what that was used for. In some medicine. I'm not a doctor, I'm just saying this is what was used for. But dodder is alive. And so you can plant dodder, and it will go back and forth and try to figure out what's the right plant that it wants to temporarily host, parasite to. I was collecting dodder, this was a couple of years ago, to dehydrate, and my dehydrator is on a shelf in my kitchen, and then I have several tables of other plants in various stages of growth, right? And so I took that dodder and I put it inside my dehydrator, and I forgot to turn it on. In fact, I got so involved with other things, I forgot I even had it inside my dehydrator. And about 5 days later, I look, the dodder made its way out of my dehydrator. Dehydrators have, oops, I did something wrong.
Put that
Okay.
down, because you'll actually.
Okay. I'm not going to touch that. I need to go to the next one after this. Okay, and so it made its way, dehydrators aren't completely sealed. They have like little cracks on the sides and underneath, so you have air circulating around. It went underneath that and was heading towards my potted plants. It's like, oh my God, it is alive. And so it was, it wasn't on anything. It was just on the shelf in the dryer. Anyhow, that's not the only plant that does that. We have some mushrooms that do that. Our fillery does that. The fillery is the plant that people like to hate because it's a non-native and you see it all over the place, and that's what I wanted to play next. What was how fillery works. We actually have a native fillery, but we don't see it grow around here. We went on a hike out in Simi Valley and saw what the native fillery looks like, which is way different than the non-native one that we have growing here. But that also is, selects where it wants to go. Let's play it. Will that? Oh, there it is. Okay. That's fillery. We have that alongside the parking lot. Oh, there's. So the dodder kind of works like that too. It's looking for, it's looking for where it wants to put up roots. Okay, so how do we,
Just press the forward button,
the forward button?
or the bottom button.
Okay,
You want to go to the next slide?
no, not yet. Okay, so that was just a demonstration of what actually goes on with fillery. Robert was weeding a bunch of fillery one day, and he gave me a challenge. Hey, can you make this edible? Well, why, sure, this can be done. And so the problem with some of our plants is the stage that you're picking it. And so if you have it young enough and it's soft enough, sure, we can. And so I went to Trader Joe's and asked them, you know, what's a good recipe for spinach dip? And they gave me the ingredients, and all I did was take the same ingredients that's used for spinach dip and use the fillery. I made sure that all that was in that container was fillery and nothing else. And it had to be soft enough, but I put it inside the blender and made it everything like that. And I think we had Ritz crackers with it, and it was, you know, a passable food. So, and then also our milk thistle, another plant that we love to hate, you know, that grows out here. When it's in its early stages, before the leaves turn white, do you all know what milk thistle looks like? It's that plant that has, okay, you're shaking your head, it's green and has the white leaves, and it's a thistle, right? It's, you know, kind of, it hurts to weed it. Well, if you get it in the very green stages before the white comes in, you can cut that and put that in your salad. It tastes really good. It's when it becomes thistly that your body can't digest it, and you don't like the texture because we're not made to be eating this type of thistle. Okay. So, what's my next one? So you're going on a hike. You have your school group here. It's 11 o'clock, and you're starting to walk on down one of the trails. And what's one of the questions that the kids often ask? I'm hungry, right? When is lunch? You've got it. You've got it. So we used to have a lot of mustards that was growing here, and we would tell them, yeah, you could pick on the mustards. Now you're not allowed to do that anymore. They moved the mustards, and, well, I think we still have quite a bit, don't we? There's other things there, but you're not allowed to do that, but we used to, you know, a long time ago before that stopped. But with a mustard, with your botany chart, you can key out a mustard, and that means all your mustards have 4 petals, okay? It has 4 petals, and then inside the petal, you have 6 stamen. It's 4 tall, 2 short. And then you have the 1 pistil inside the middle, and then you have 4 sepals. They all key out like that. So what are some mustards that we've got in your grocery store? Not just regular mustard. Radish is a mustard. Can you think of any other mustards?
Grey Poupon.
Grey Poupon. Broccoli is a mustard. Cauliflower is a mustard. Horseradish is a mustard. Watercress is a mustard. The list goes on and on. We have lots of mustards. You may not like the taste of the broccoli and Brussels sprouts and things like that, but it's, you know, it's all an individual taste. It's all edible, and, you know, it's up to your taste buds. But if you can key out a mustard, you know that that's going to be edible. Do we have native mustards? Yeah, we have Western wallflower. Will grow in the spring, and it has these bright, big orange flowers. Those are mustards. It may not be what you want to taste, but, you know, it's palatable. You know, you can eat that. So the kids will ask, you know, I'm hungry, and you can't do anything about that now.
One of the plants that you taught me was the, grows along the roads and stuff, I think it's called wild radish.
Yes.
Is that a native or not? Do we?
It's as native as our mustard. I mean, it was brought here, and that's a really weird one. You can go to Glendale, San Fernando Valley, Pasadena. They have, you know what our mustard looks like? You have the little yellow flowers and, you know, the different types of leaves that go along with it. Well, you get out of Santa Clarita, and you have radish growing. We were like along one of the beach hikes, wasn't it?
Yeah, it kind of grows
Yeah.
on the side of roads.
And it looks just like mustard, except the flowers are pink. And you can, it's the same kind of thing. You can eat the flowers, you can eat the leaves if they're small enough, and you can pull it out, and there's actual radishes in there. If they're really big, they're going to be too fibrous to digest, but if they're in young stages, yeah, it's fine.
Good.
It's fine. But they're not native.
I didn't really, that's what I wasn't sure of.
And then people ask often about those yellow mustards that we have growing here, not just the wallflowers, but those, and it's like, oh, we don't have a native one. Yeah, we do. But it's seen mostly around by Santa Barbara, but we do have a native mustard. I don't think it's here in Santa Clarita, unless you want to consider wallflowers, you know.
Does it look like a mustard, like this native mustard? Does it look like the black mustard or the oriental mustard?
It does. It does. I should get a picture of that and show that sometime. Okay.
Okay, let's try. There you go.
Okay.
Did it again.
Doesn't require.
Next one.
No. Oh.
Oh, okay. So there, that's your school group that's saying there. and they're going to ask, can I eat it? Well, you know what else we have growing around here in great abundance, but not today because we've had the rain and all that, is buckwheat. Do y'all know what buckwheat looks like? And can you eat the buckwheat? Actually, yeah. If it was drier and if we had more favorable circumstances, I've taken the buckwheat and pick off the heads and pull out my Martha Stewart blender and put the buckwheat into the blender and turn it on, and in about 15 seconds, you have buckwheat flour, okay? And that buckwheat flour is gluten-free, but if you're wanting to eat something that has gluten in it, like pancakes or muffins or anything like that, you need the gluten to have it all stick together. So if you want to stretch your food budget, you can take that buckwheat and mix it in with your pancake flour or anything you have, and you're just stretching it a little bit more, and I would say the ratio would be maybe a fourth of that to the regular flour. But our buckwheat is absolutely edible. Let's see, we probably have a list. Okay, can I eat it? Oh, okay, well, I can talk about the Kurjong tree. So we had the buckwheat. In the parking lot of Home Depot, the one off of Newhall Ranch Road, and then yesterday I happened to be at Walmart by the old road in Lyons. You know that one, right? And so I was thinking of this presentation today, and I thought, gee, I wonder in that slide presentation if I have a picture of the Kurjong tree. And I didn't know for sure. And then lo and behold, in the parking lot, I see these three pods. We could pass that around. That's, well, or I'll just leave it out there. But this is, I guess, that's a Kurjong pod. In its prime, it would have been like maybe October, November. And there's a bunch of little seeds inside it that look like popcorn kernels. But it also has little cactus type hairs inside it. So I've collected the Kurjong pods, and that's native actually to Australia, but our climate is quite similar to Australia, so we grow a lot of that kind of stuff. You put it inside some water, and you remove all the little seeds that's inside the Kurjong pod, and then heat up a skillet like you're going to make popcorn, and I throw those Kurjong seeds into the skillet just like that. They will not pop like popcorn where you're going to have like the big white, fluffy popcorn kernels, but they will expand just a little bit, and we salt them and eat them, and they're really good. And so the Kurjong tree has similar problems that we do in LA. It's seeking for water. It's a drought-tolerant tree. And you see the base of the tree? If you were in dire need of water, you know how like on the Bugs Bunny cartoons, they'll show the Bugs Bunny going to a cactus, and here he will be getting a straw into the cactus and drinking it. You can't do that, okay? That is a cartoon. However, with a Kurjong tree, at the base, there actually is drinkable, palatable water. So that is a lifesaver for if you happen to be an Aborigine and you're seeking water. That's one of the sources. So look at this marvelous tree. It's drought tolerant. It stores water inside its trunk. The seeds that are inside the pods are edible, like popcorn. And it also looks really cool when you have Placerita Christmas fair and you want to decorate wreaths, because we've used that before too. So yep, that is.
Will you destroy a Kurjong tree by drinking the water?
It depends on how much you're depleting. I mean, it would be like your prickly pear cactus when it's not got. When we're in the summertime and we go through long periods of it not receiving water, the pads get flatter and flatter, right? And it looks really bad. And then all you need is a good rain, and then it plumps right up, and it's strong and thick and healthy again. That would work the same way with the Kurjong tree. And that's a good question, because I asked that one once. And because it was like, are you going to hurt it? No, as long as it keeps on getting its source, just like the prickly pear. But it's not a cactus. Okay, so is this edible? So let's see. We have Play-Doh. Has anyone ever made Play-Doh? Yeah. The ingredients in it, is it edible? Yes. Is it palatable? No. But, pardon? Tree bark. Tree bark, can that be edible?
How about cinnamon?
Oh, okay, cinnamon, thank you. That's a good one. Thank you. That comes from the bark. But also, think of our pine trees. People actually, but it's not exactly the bark. So let's say we've had, the rain, and some trees have come down with the rain. If you are fortunate enough to have a pine tree that's come down on your property, you have. Oh my gosh, you're the perfect example of this. The outer bark, the gray part, leave that alone. But immediately on the other side of that bark is this xylem, I think is how you pronounce it. There's like a white beige coating on the other side of the bark. That's what you want to cut off. And the longer you wait, the more difficult it's going to be, because it's going to try to fuse and be one with the bark and just die altogether. But if you can get to that, cut that out. If you get to the inner core, that's not going to be any good either. So it's only about 1/4 of an inch that's going to be inside the bark. And so people, you can take that inner part, try it. and cut it into slices and fry it and put salt on it. And it's supposed to taste like potato chips. So, I mean, is it worth it? I mean, you do not want, okay, and again, is that going to damage the tree? So let's say someone says, well, I don't have a pine tree in my backyard that happened to fall down. I'm not lucky like her. And
I was very lucky it didn't fall on the house.
Yes, yep. Actually, my daughter had a tree that fell down too on this storm, so I empathize. It cost thousands to get it taken care of. But in the meantime,
The right direction.
pardon?
It fell in the right direction, so if
So,
anybody wants pine wood.
so happy day. But anyhow, that pine bark is that. In fact, the Algonquin Indians in the Northeast, that word means tree eater, because they used a lot more of that undercoating of the trees. It was thickly populated, and that's what it meant.
Helen, is that a lot of the pine trees or all of them?
All your
Most
pine
of them,
trees,
or-
and also your pine needles. You can take your pine needles and pour hot water over it and tell me what you think. Okay, strain it. Don't eat the needles, but it's used as a flavoring for the tea. You know, it's really good is spruce. We don't have too many spruce trees around here, but if you can find a spruce, positively identify it, crunch it up, put it inside your tea ball or your cheesecloth bag, pour hot water over it, and see what it tastes like. That should be sold commercially. It's so good. But yeah, you can make a pine needle tea. You can make pine needle popsicles. You know, once you have it as a tea, put it inside your ice cube tray. Sure, you can do that. Clay.
You passed over chalk.
Pardon?
You passed over.
Oh, we passed the chalk. Okay, that's calcium carbonate. That's what makes. Is that edible? Yeah, it can be edible, but would you want it? No. So that's not palatable. So that's the difference. And then you have clay, right? And so you have some people like Sprouts sells the bentonite clay, and they use that like to remove impurities from the skin, or if you have something that, let's say you got stung by an insect and you want to reduce the swelling, they'll use the calcium bentonite. But as for edible, no, but functional, medicinal, yeah, you can use that. Shoe leather, edible? There's some camp movies, though, with Bob Hope where they're showing that. I mean, it's still leather. Leather is leather.
Yeah, because I've read books and stuff where sailors are adrift and they have nothing to eat and they eat their shoes. I mean,
Yeah,
I
but
guess
not.
you can eat it.
But are our shoes? I mean, mine's made out of
Well, yeah,
not leather.
not leather.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with Tasting History. It's on YouTube.
Okay.
And he cooks all these historical recipes. And he recently did cook some leather. And he said it didn't taste very good. It was really chewy. But he boiled it, you know, he had to find some that was really edible, that didn't have a
Right.
lot of chemicals through the tanning process.
Wow.
And but kind of gummy after he cooked it for several hours in little slices.
But you know, if you're hungry, you know,
Starving.
right. And then people had mold issues and all that. Has anyone ever eaten any really weird animal? What have you had?
Whale.
What was that like?
It was like tuna.
Really?
Yeah, you know, like tuna you get at a sushi restaurant.
Yeah. Wow. That's.
Mountain oysters.
Who said that? Oh. Okay. Really? Where did you have it?
Julesburg, Colorado.
Wow.
At Willie's place.
So how did they make it?
You deep fry them.
Wow. So
Absolutely delicious.
did you have hesitation because you were trying something new?
I was drunk. No.
Anyone ever have rattlesnake? Yeah, quite a few of us have. I had that once. We were at a survival workshop. There were 100 of us, and there were several rattlesnakes in an area that children were playing. So they killed one of them and tried to distract the other two. And when they opened it up, there were 3 little birds inside this snake. So it was like extra bonus. But what did you think of people who ate the rattlesnake? What did it taste like to you?
Chicken.
Chicken? What else?
Bony chicken.
Anyone else?
Yeah, tough chicken.
Yeah.
Tough, yeah. Chicken. Mine, it seemed more fishy.
It was a little fishy.
Huh?
It was a little fishy.
Yeah, was it? Anyone else?
Guinea pig.
Oh, how is that?
It was very bony and kind of tough. Not great.
How was it cooked?
It was cooked
Psychologically, were you able to say, yeah, I'm going to get over that?
It was in a restaurant, so it's,
Oh, did you know what it was?
yeah.
Okay.
Delicacy in Ecuador.
Okay. So he said guinea pig. Guinea pig.
People have them running around in our kitchens.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyone else have anything interesting? Yes.
I ate alligator sashes.
What was that?
Alligator
An alligator.
in New Orleans.
What did you think of it?
Psychological, I was sick. We took a cruise and we took a cruise and they were serving like alligator sashes and they looked very delicious. And my husband says, just try it. We're not gonna come and have a chance to eat it again. And I took one in my plate and I ate a little piece and it was like, no.
So you didn't like the taste, too. It wasn't just psychological. It was.
Psychological, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
My daughter says it was good, but not to me. Not to me. Yeah.
Anyone have bear? Bear? That was, a friend had done that and made jerky for all of us to taste it. And it was the same thing psychologically. It was like, okay, no. Couldn't do that.
You eat like a bear, like?
Yeah, this was out in Pasadena. That was with one of the survival workshops. And it was, I think it was like a roadkill bear. And so people who were involved with that wound up, trying to see what they could do with that. And so, yeah, it was. And so we all had a chance with that. I understand iguana is supposed to be good, though. Yeah, anyone ever have iguana?
No, but I saw Anthony Bourdain in one of his cooking shows. He had it, and he didn't like it. Generally, I don't think reptiles are that palatable.
Yeah, maybe. But here you have, when you're asking, is it edible? Yes.
I've had fried grubs.
Fried what?
Grubs.
Oh. What type of grubs?
I don't know, some kind of beetle. It was in Ecuador again.
How was it?
It tastes like bacon.
I've seen on YouTube where they're showing, this made and people just eating it like what you're talking about, like no problem at all. These are really good.
What tastes like bacon? I'm sorry?
Grubs. Grubs.
Like the larva of beetles.
So there you go again with is it edible? Shoe leather doesn't seem right to a lot of us, but it's psychological too if it's going to be edible. I mean, if it's going to be palatable. Edible is a no-brainer, but palatable, there we have to play with it a little bit more. What about banana peel? Is a banana peel edible?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. You can boil it to a tea, and you can candy it, and you can even make a type of banana peel bacon. When you were talking about bacon, I haven't done it.
I did it.
You did it? How was it?
It was palatable.
Did it taste? What did it taste like?
It tastes like bacon, but it was palatable.
Did you fry it?
Yeah.
And
I forget exactly. You had talked about it. I Googled
and
it.
so you did it.
Yeah.
What's that?
As soon as you get home, recycle your leather shoes.
Okay, and then with bugs, do we regularly eat bugs? Yes, of course we do. It's in our food whether we like it or not. What about the cochineal? When you see the prickly pear cactus, you ever see the little white fuzzy things that grow on the prickly pear cactus? That's the cochineal. And you can take that, the little white fuzzy things and carry a tissue. We used to have it grow on the end of the botany trail. And then the fire took it out, and we should replant it because that used to be there as part of it. And we would put white tissue on it and just push down on it, and it would come this beautiful magenta color from our local prickly pears. And you can take that and scrape off the white cochineal and dehydrate it and dye things, like a handkerchief, a T-shirt from that. That's a source of red. That's a source of red in Skittles. That was a source of red in Starbucks strawberry frappuccino. Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah, we worked at Starbucks and it was the raspberry syrup and people freaked out about, oh my
And it's probably, the people who were complaining about it were probably wearing lipstick that was made out of the same thing, right? And it's true, they use that. That's where the red is coming from. And it's in Skittles, and it's in some of our yogurts have, the cochineal. So we're definitely in on the game. It's just people, it's a psychological thing that we're talking about with the shoe leather. Okay, what about mushrooms? Some of them. What's that? It depends, right? Some of them are like the chicken of the woods. Has anyone had that? The chicken of the woods? You have?
No, but I've had lion's mane.
Oh, how is that?
Really good. It grows on the oak trees in Santa Barbara.
Oh, wow. Oh, there was a plant workshop out in Ojai, and one of the leaders there collected a bunch of the chicken of the woods, and I was the cook. And so it was under the open fire, and, did exactly what he told me to do, and served it, and oh my gosh, it really is chicken. You can't tell the difference. It tastes better than it. No wonder people go crazy over the mushrooms. So mushrooms are really good, but you can get yourself in trouble with it. I will only eat mushrooms if there are at least 2 mycologists who have been at it for at least 30 years and they agree. Other than that, no. And a lot of the mushrooms that we have that are wild need to be cooked first. It's not like in the grocery store where, you just have it raw. And so you need to be aware of that. Also, there's a type of mushroom that is called inky cap. When it's ending its life, it gets like this black oily stuff on it, hence its name. But when it's in its earlier stages, you can take that inky cap and cook it up, and it tastes really good, except if you've had any alcohol within the week, any at all, you will be nauseous. You will be looking for a place to throw up. If you have had no alcohol, it's pleasant and absolutely fine. And so when they discovered this feature of inky caps, they use that for people who go to Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's the same thing. That's where that derived from. And so there's much to be learned with mushrooms. Okay. Pardon?
Is that how they would test to see if they've actually...
Yeah. It really is. There's a Latin name for it, and I can't think of it now. Yes?
Oh, no, I was just thinking, does alcohol even stay in your body for that long?
Oh, I don't know, because you would think alcohol would be gone.
I don't even know if it would stay there past 5 months. Apparently it does if it lasts for a week, right?
Yeah, it does. And so it's like when you're with mycologists, and sometimes you get to sample some of these things. That's one of the first things that they'll ask. Have you had any kind of alcohol during that time frame? Because that's how it's going to affect you. And you know how the poisonous mushrooms work? One time I was on a mushroom foray with Florence Nikishita. You know how she's mushroom specialist. She's nationally known. She's come to our center from time to time. And I went with her. There was a group of us. And she said, I need a volunteer. Oh, I'll volunteer. And she explained what was going to happen. This was a look-alike for, not the chanterelles. What's the other one that everybody wants? Not the chanterelles. And not the truffles. It's the chanterelles. And so she had one that was a very close look-alike to the chanterelle. And so she said, okay, what you're going to do is take this and hold this in your mouth, but don't swallow. Just hold it. And it's going to initially be pleasant, but when it stops to doing that, spit it out immediately. And so it was exactly as she said. It was like, wow, I really like the taste of this. Oh, and then it started to burn, and I spit it out. And my mouth was on fire for a good couple of hours, okay? But it was a lesson that you don't forget when you go through this. And imagine what happens, and it let me know how people can poison themselves and die from mushrooms. And it's because it's like that. It can be pleasant, and you're completely unaware, and you're swallowing it, and it's affecting your liver. With what's the one mushroom? Armenitas. that we have growing out here that people can die from. There's one of them, they say that if a person has had the deadly Amanita, that there's nothing they can really do for you. But now they're saying that there are, a handful of studies. Jack, is there anything that can help somebody who's eaten deadly Amanitas? To your knowledge? No. But some think that with this milk thistle that we see growing along, that the seeds inside it, once the flower's expired, you can extract those seeds and pulverize that, and it's supposed to help people who have liver problems and liver damage, and so that's the only thing that's out there. But that's why it's really important to know the difference. Let's see. Okay, so what is... Okay, so ethnobotany, ethos means, it refers to the people, culture, a culture's collective body of beliefs, language, knowledge, and practice. Ethno works for a lot of other things, like there's also ethno-astronomy. You listened to Dr. Ed Krupp yesterday. Yeah. We have a solstice cave out in Chatsworth. He is also an ethno-astronomer, and he looks at the astronomy things that's in that one cave, and so that's also looking back in time into history. So I was showing you some of the things that we've used historically for our plants. What's one of the first things that we would use with plants? Fire, right? And so we can still do that. This is a traditional fire, pardon? A lighter. This wood that I cut is from pine. This wood that makes the arch for my bow, because this is a bow drill, this is from alder. Alder is a real springy type of wood, and so it makes a really nice bow when you're going to do a primitive fire. When I first started to learn fire, they said that the secret of fire lies in water, and that is that some of the best plants for making fire grow alongside the creeks, which is the case here. So if you're going to make a fire, you would have this bow, this is called a hearth, and this is also pine. And I could, I'll show this later. So, or I could do it up here, maybe that. So you would take this, and you have a top piece, you have a rock, it goes inside your drill. And if I was on the ground, I can't do this standing up, but you would use this and you would kind of make like a song motion, and you'd get a little bit of smoke. You would start in getting more smoke, and then you'd look to get a coal coming from that. And from that coal, pardon?
I think they'd like to see that. Could I hold it for you? Or?
Well, when we take a break, I think I'll show that. But so this was one of the first things that you could say, this is really good for using plants. That was utilitarian other than the food. What else? What are we experiencing today? We're seeing snow, right? Has anyone ever experienced snow blindness or aware that even exists? You have, some of you are shaking your head. That's a very real thing with having the glare. So you could have glasses that get dark. You could put sunglasses over it. You can buy expensive snow goggles and still get it if you don't have enough protection on it. After fire, this goes back thousands of years, not duct tape, but when we take a break, you can make one of these. This is also a snow goggle. Ron, do you want to demonstrate?
Surely.
So you're going to put this, and
put your eye out, kid.
Okay. And hold this string here. Okay, and can you see through the slits?
Yes.
Okay, let them see what this looks like. So can you see everybody in the classroom?
Here, let me get my camera. This is what it looks like, camera. Oh, silver.
But you know what? If it's the difference in making it down a hill, that's good. So these are snow goggles that were traditionally made thousands of years ago out of bone, out of tree. But we live in this day and age, and I'm thinking if you're hiking, if you're up in the hills, if you're looking for certain things, on my hiking stick at the top, I always have several turns of duct tape. I always carry duct tape with me on my hiking stick, or on maybe I have it wrapped around my backpack or something, but it's generally on my stick. And duct tape is a really good thing to always have with you. You don't know if a shoe is going to come apart. You know, that's going to ruin your day. You know, how are you going to get down? You can just use the duct tape to go around on it. You can repair hiking sticks when they break.
It's come in very handy when we've been hiking.
It has come in extremely handy, right? And so you know that I always carry the duct tape. This is just 1 foot of duct tape. I folded it over, and now it's 6 inches of duct tape. And I have enough here that you all could make one of these, but you know, on your own time, because we're going to take a break, and I'm already over time here. All you're going to do is take your 6-inch thing and fold it in half, right? Once it's folded in half, from the middle part, go down about 1/2 inch. As skinny as you can, you're going to cut out 2 slits for your eyes. And then I have, you know, string or twine, whatever you want, and you can, for those of us who wear eyeglasses, the eyepiece is up towards the top of it. So for this snow goggles, you punch holes towards the top of it, and then you have the string going around. So anyhow, that's what I'm going to say. This came about as, you know, for ethnobotany, you have your fire, you have your eye protection. Some people have used this where the ski goggles was not sufficient. This happened. Or sometimes if you have 2 things, like sunglasses and ski goggles, it may seem dark inside, but outside, if it's going to make it so you can go down a hill, that's fine. If you can't see where you're going, how do you think you're going to get down that hill? And so these seem really silly, but you know, if it helps somebody someday, yay! You know, I'm happy for that. Okay, let's go on. Oh, and then cordage. How could I forget? So we have yucca, and you want to know how to make rope from yucca. I've shown this before. This is 80 feet of yucca that I spun in 1 2-hour conversation. And how do we do this? I didn't go up into the hills today to get yucca. Maybe one of the other times we can, you all can make it. But you take a yucca leaf and you fray it. You fold it in half and you just start in shredding the thing, okay? And so that would be our first step if we were to make this. And so you want to shred it really fine, and you're going to have some of the yucca juice coming out of it. And then once it's frayed, I need 2 volunteers, please. I'm not dangerous. Okay, just to show how you can do this. Because I was trying to think, how are we going to learn how to braid? When you braid yucca, it's a 2-stroke braid. Okay, so hold this, and I'm going to demonstrate, and you're going to come over here and see what I'm doing, then you're going to follow it. So imagine you have your yucca, and now you have folded it down like this. And you take one side, and all you do is twist it once to the right and flip it over. That's it. Twist it to the right and flip it over. Okay. Ready? So take the blue one and just twist it once that way and then flip it over. And then keep going. The same, and that's it. So it's not that bad, is it? No. So what it's going to do is double the strength. If you had a 3 strand braid, it will triple the strength. This is rock climbing rope. So you're making this extremely, extremely strong. Okay. What else can we do with this? What else we can do with the yucca? Well, in a survival situation, you might need shoes. And this is my very lame attempt at making shoes. But this is from the yucca, and there's actually patterns for it. And this is old. Pardon?
Oh, I had a question. When
Yes.
I was driving through Placerita this morning, I saw a perfect little yucca that got washed down in a mudslide. Do you want me to bring it Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was just trying to show some of the things you can do with it is you can make shoes. I made plate. Okay, that's yucca braid. Okay. And what we're going to continue on is to show with this. Thank you for doing this. It's kind of fun, isn't it?
How do you make this?
This is from this. And so once.
That's a 3. Isn't that?
No, that's a 2.
That's a 2?
That's a 2. That's
Going
this.
this way.
That's it. And so let's say, because I was experimenting with the rock ropes. Has anyone done any kind of climbing in here? Oh, so you know what these are then.
Well, I'm not sure, but those aren't,
These are anchors.
yeah, they're not primary.
Okay, so let's say, no, hold that. So let's say you're using your yucca. Pretend that this blue and orange rope is the yucca. So I now have another piece of yucca, and I want to make it longer. So I'm going to take this yucca and just stuff it in here. And that's all you do. And that's how you can make one piece of yucca become 70 feet of yucca. You just keep on feeding it in. So you see how nice this is? And so I've just added it, and I'm making it longer.
That's impressive. It's like a color change.
Yeah. There you go. Okay, where's the little... Yes?
How strong is that?
The rope? I think around like 2,000 pounds. We had a survival. Oh, you're talking about this one, right?
I was talking about the.
Oh, that. Oh, okay. This can get strong. No, not for that. But we did at one of the survival workshops that I did, like maybe 10 years ago. We had people from all over the country. Some of them were. There was even a guy from Australia, right? And people were told to bring the plant materials that they use for cordage. And so we were, they're kicking around, and seeing, can we tow a car with this, right? And so that was the goal, but the yucca seemed to be stronger than anything. And so I've seen, Ron has a really good picture of the different plant fibers for cordage.
Oh, yeah.
That would be a good one to put up again.
Yeah.
But the yucca excels in being strong. I want to turn off the lights, and we have one more, because one.
Yucca cordage becomes rope when you braid.
Right, and that's,
them together.
and so that's, oh, okay, I'm going to,
Oh, this is.
this,
Chaca Bridge in
Right.
Peru is rebuilt every year using traditional Inca engineering techniques by the local communities on either side of the canyon. This bridge has been continually rebuilt in the same location since the time of the Incas. The entire bridge is built in only 3 days. To construct the bridge, grass coyo is harvested and then prepared to be woven into large cables, beginning with small cord, which is twisted together from the local grass. These cords are then twisted to form a larger rope, and the ropes are then braided to create the main cable. Up on the highway, the community works together to pull these ropes to stretch them out. These ropes are woven and twisted. Each rope is made from 30 of the small cords, and then 3 of these ropes are braided to form the cables that will support the bridge. After more stretching, the cables are then carried down to where the bridge will be installed. bridge is used to run the first cable across for what will become the new bridge. And then the old bridge is cut down and it falls into the water and is washed away by the river. All day long, the community pulls on the new cables to prepare them for the bridge. These supporting cables are anchored to the stone abutments on either side of the canyon. Victoriano Arizapana is the architect of the bridge, and he uses traditional methods which have been handed down in his family for centuries.
Trabajito que mi papá me ha puesto, he empezado desde los 12 añitos. Nisho tamke puente Kashwachakata noka munakone. O sea, wawai tahena vestita munan.
The structure of the bridge is made with 4 cables for the floor and 2 handrails. The bridge weaving begins in the morning with Victoriano weaving from one side and another worker weaving from the other side until they meet in the center of the bridge. When the bridge is finally finished, the communities come together to celebrate. The structure is remarkably safe. It has been built for centuries in this way and can hold dozens of people at any one time.
So there, you have your strength. And it's just, you start out with something small, and you're just adding on, and you're taking your existing rope and building and building and building, and look at what you can do with it.
What does rain do with something like that?
What's that?
What is the effect of rain on that, on those?
Well, that's a really good question. You know, with a lot of our fibers, or you get something in the hardware store, and then the sun will kind of rot it. You know, it'll change the color, it will lighten it up, and it can loosen it too, and so you have to keep on tightening it. With this yucca, or even with basketry, you can, you know, we can make things out of it just as is. But if I wanted to make it permanent, I would soak it and then dry it. All it needs is one time to soak it and then dry it, and it will never shrink again.
But they don't do that with that bridge.
That's what happens when it rains the first time.
Okay,
Right.
But people cross it before it rains?
Yes.
Okay, so it's really not in its prime condition then when it's first built. If rain actually tightens things and they don't pre-soak it in water.
They didn't show that it was pre-soaked before it was used. I think they do, because, I mean, that's standard with basketry. And I would think that, I mean, they've been doing that for for centuries, so I would think that they would know to pre-soak it first, and that it's not going to shrink or have problems. But also, remember they said every year they take it down and then they start the new one, so it probably gets a lot of use, and they know that it's not going to be around there forever. Look at the hut that we have that Denny did, you know, that's behind the Nature Center. That's like the 3rd or 4th version of a hut, because we've had several. My son and his Boy Scout troop did one of them. And everything was fine, except to make it traditionally, the walls were supposed to be at least a foot thick. And they tried for it. I think they got like maybe around 7 or 8 inches thick. But I mean, it looked pretty good. The problem is nobody was living in it until the creatures started to come in, and the raccoons were making holes, and they, you know, it was the animals that kind of destroyed it. And so I think that with, like what you're saying with the bridge, that you have other elements that's involved, and nothing's going to really last forever. Let's see. Okay, so you normally take a break. I have a few things for you to look at when we take a break. I'm going to put out the materials that's needed if you want to make one of the snow masks. I also made under popular request. Nettle. And so this is nettle soup. And so I have little cups here. I make this enough. Last time I did it was about 3 or 4 weeks ago for a large group of Boy Scouts, and they couldn't believe that they were actually going to eat the nettle that they picked. But after that, we had people coming back again and again to have it. So I'm not sure how, maybe I should put it out when we have food, put it in there. So this is soup, the soup, and so I have little tiny cups, and so you can taste it and see if you like it. When I did this for Boy Scouts, it's funny. We tend to want to put a lot of salt on our food, and so I don't really use salt and pepper. I use this stuff called Spike. That's a bunch of different herbs, and there's no salt and pepper in it, but you can see all the ingredients in it. And so if this is not salty enough for anybody, I'm going to put this out next to it so you can add that. And when I served it last time with the Scouts, I also picked up a container of mushroom chips that seemed to work really well. People would grab 1 or 2 and put that inside their soup, and so you're welcome to that. So I'll put that in the back. And as for the snow goggles, where should I set that up so they can make it or try to make it?
In here, you could, we'll have room on the table back there.
I'll do it all back there. So we'll have I'll set up that and the goggles. And also, has anyone noticed inside the other room we have a teaching basket? It's because Californians were known for their basketry. But the kind of stuff that we had when we were kids, we kind of learned how to weave with construction paper and all that. Kids just aren't learning that. And so I saw this in Monterey and asked them, hey, is it okay if I make a copy of it once I checked with Class Read? And everybody was good with it. So this is a replica of what they have in Monterey to teach kids how to weave. And at the last open house, kids were still having a problem with it. So I made these little paper imitation baskets and little yarn. And so I'll put this out there too, so you can see I will be putting these, hopefully, with the baskets, so people who come to our nature center can try their hand at weaving and take it home. And so they can practice that. So I'll have all this out. You're welcome to, try this or see what the goal is so kids know what in and out means. It's not necessarily a burger, right? This is weaving. Okay, and so it's break time, and I'll put this.